Blessings guys, Alex Angelo with you. Welcome to my channel and my page. And as usual, this is the end of the week where I'm actually creating another spiritual vlog for you. So if you watch my previous videos, then probably you already know more or less about me. But if for those of you who don't know me, I'm Alex Angelo. I'm a spiritual life coach and astrologer, and I use esoterical skills, esoterical knowledge and spirituality in my life coaching practices because that makes a lot more sense to me. And also working with my clients, it has been showing a lot more productive results, I would say. But now today I actually want to talk about something really interesting in terms of that actually. Today we're going to talk about the 12 zodiac signs. And why this is interesting, because a lot of people, even astrologers, going through the astrological processes and going through the astrological skills and knowledge and exploring astrology, don't exactly quite understand the cycle of astrological chart. So first of all, what I want to say is this: as you know, for those of you, even those of you who do not believe in astrology, but I hope that this vlog will somehow make a sense for you by the end of the vlog, by you are kind of watching it, that astrological aspects are very, very significant influence in our life. Because in fact, the 12 astrological aspects, or the 12 astrological signs, are deeply related to 12 subpersonalities, subconscious personalities of our individuality, of the human being. In other words to say, of course, we're going back to the aspect of the archetypes according to Jung, and Jung said that actually the human subconscious is deeply related to the archetypes. So that's exactly what astrology does also have a lot in common with the human archetypes. So if we start actually looking at the chart, and you can imagine that chart right in front of your eyes, or for those of you who can even look it up on the internet and just see all those 12 signs in the chart, in the circle, and understand that beginning from the first house, or beginning from the first astrological sign up to the last one, each of them has certain characteristics and the personality traits, which is deeply related again to our subconscious mind. And in this vlog, actually, I'm going to break it down for you so that you can understand why astrology has a lot to do with the subconscious, and why astrology is still so relevant to nowadays, because somehow there's a lot of links between that. And as you know, in my vlogs, I actually try to go through the theories and the esoterical theories, esoterical learnings, or teachings and spiritual teachings of different authors, of different spiritualists, in order to be able to make sense from what they're writing, and then putting them together in in the puzzles, in order to be able to understand for myself how it actually works, and then bring this information up to you. So because maybe at that point you will be able to understand how this can actually work, how astrology can actually work and affect us. So a lot of people do ask me, including my clients, if the astrology is a predictive tool or if it's a guidance tool. And of course, the real answer is that astrology is a completely guidance tool. Also about the horoscopes, if you ask me, right? Well, then some people say that actually horoscopes can play a very important part in terms of that people can predict things through the horoscopes. In fact, horoscopes are nothing more than a guidance. What the horoscopes or different planetary transits, or let's say the transit chart, can really recommend us is how to behave in certain situations, in certain ways, in order to be able to benefit from the situation that we might be encountering with during the certain months or the weeks of the year. So, but now, again, this was a little brief explanation of how the astrology kind of operates. But now let me go back to the details of the 12 signs and the 12 subpersonalities of our subconscious mind that deeply related to our individuality, to our being. So the first sign, as you know in astrology, is the pioneering sign of the Aries. So the Aries represents the sense of the leadership, represents the sense of taking actions or drive and moving forward in the life. So considering that Aries is the first sign of astrology, which means this is our first subpersonality. It's when we are born, when we're a kid at heart, and we are trying to explore everything. We are full of the energy, and we want to take that drive. We want to move forward. We want to achieve things in our life. We want to be a leader. There's a very strong sense of competitiveness in us. So basically, the Aries is deeply related to our first subconscious subpersonality, which is deeply related to the sense of going, seeing, and achieving, and the sense of leadership, the sense of taking actions and be driven by our goals, by our dreams. Just like when the kids are usually, very dreamy, and they have all those beautiful dreams at the beginning of our life. Just like I think we've all experienced that, and we are full of that enthusiasm about our dreams and about goals, and we want to start taking actions to achieve them, right? So after the first cardinal sign, which is actually, as we know, the Aries is the cardinal sign, which is the cardinal signs are really good at beginning things. They're really good at starting things. And then right after the Aries, we are actually switching to Taurus, which is the fixed sign in astrology. And the fixed signs in astrology are known to be able to be good at maintaining the balance or maintaining the sense of the progress and the development. So the fixed signs are usually don't really like changing things a lot, but at the same time, they are very good at maintaining stability and being very focused on what they're doing here and now. So the next sign is deeply, which is the Taurus, is deeply related to our second subconscious subpersonality with gaining the sense of stability. That's when we're already growing up a little bit. That's where we're coming to the, to our senses of understanding the life, and we understand that sometimes impulsivity of Aries may not be exactly what we want, and we become more grounded. We become more kind of understanding of ourselves, and this is when we are right at the peak of our youth, and we want to start exploring, start enjoying the life around us, start enjoying the good food, the weather, going out with our friends, the tangible goods that the life offers us, sensuality, and in it, like all this, let's say that earthly pleasures. That's where we are with the archetype of Taurus. We get to grow up and understand that now it is our time to explore the world through its beauty, and actually through our experiences of senses and tangibility and pleasure. So this is when we are again diving into the world of exploring the world around us and trying to gain the sensation of pleasure, the sensation of joy, the sensation of kind of chilling and enjoying everything that the life has to offer us. So right after that cycle, we're moving to the third house, or the third sign of astrology, which is actually the flexible signs, or in other words to say, they're also called like the signs that are very good in adapting, or adaptable signs, and they're really good at finishing things. Where the cardinal signs is Aries is really good at beginning things and starting the initiation of it, and the fixed signs are really good at maintaining the progress and moving in the right direction, keeping their focus on that direction. And the flexible or adaptive signs are really good at actually finishing things and finishing the cycle. So if you think about it, there are 12 signs in astrology, and if we break them in 4 basically, then there are 3 signs in each. That's why each of these signs are coming consequently as a cardinal sign, fixed sign, and the adaptable sign, or the flexible sign. So this is basically the first quarter. That's where we're coming up to the end of the first quarter of the zodiac signs, and we are ending this the first quarter with the flexible sign, which is Gemini. This is already when we are after we have started experiencing the lively pleasures or earthly pleasures, and starting to experience the sensations that the earthly pleasures can't give us, or help us to understand the surrounding around us better without being in rush. That's when we start actually creating our contacts or our communication with the surrounding around us, as the Gemini sign is very popular with the sense of communication. This is when we are actually growing a little bit more up, and we're coming to a point to understand that we need information, we need to exchange information, we need to create our circle of friends, our circle of people who would be like-minded or like us, so that we can learn from them, or we can teach them, or they can learn from us, and thus of course the exchange of information can really help us to develop in this world. So that's the third archetype of the human subconscious, or the third subpersonality, that deeply related to the flexible sign of Gemini. So as you see from here, let's say that we are just coming to the point where the first signs is beginning from our childhood, coming up to the point where we're probably to around 20, 22, 23 years old, and we are now creating our circle. We're not creating our surrounding. We're studying, we're learning, we're trying to gain as much information as possible so that we can actually share that information with the world. And this information is also helping us actually to develop our life view at some point as well. So right after that, actually gaining that sense and the power over the information and knowledge and the skills that we get to be so hungry for at that point of our life, we move to the next or the second quarter of the zodiac sign, which is starting with the sign of the Cancer, which is also a cardinal sign. So the Cancer, as we know, as I said earlier, cardinal signs are known to be good at beginning things, and this is the Cancer, as we know in astrology, is deeply related to the sense of our sources, to our ancestors, to family, to mother, father, or the family values, and the sense of protectiveness and defense. So this is actually when our soul is coming up to a point where we want to be closer with our family, where we start understanding the family values, where we understand what is the meaning of a father or a mother, or what we understand what's the meaning of actually having strong bonds with our families and with our ancestors or with our roots. This is where we are actually growing up to a point where we are becoming more intuitive, more spiritual, more valuing things, unlike than we were in the sign of the Taurus, or in the second subpersonality archetype, where we were just chilling and trying to enjoy the earthly pleasures that life has to offer us. Now, at the beginning of the second quarter of the astrological cycle, when we go through the basically through the path of the Cancer, then we become actually more family oriented, and this is exactly when we want to create probably our own family, or meet somebody that we can have a strong bonds together, where we become a lot more protective of our family members, or the people who are close to us, or our relatives or siblings, or we become more protective of our own values, of our own views, and we start actually showing the sense of acknowledgement and appreciation to the sense of the family. And as you notice, actually all the steps and all these human archetypes are actually happening by the way that we're growing and we're evolving, like step by step, phase by phase, right? So right after the Cancer, of course, there's another sign, which is the Leo. This is actually already when, and having been a fixed sign, where we understand the true spiritual values of the family. We now move to express ourselves. We now move to actually start working on our creativity, on our creative side. We become a lot more confident in ourselves. We become a lot more creative of ourselves. We actually try to gain also the sense of the leadership, considering that Leo is also fire sign, just like the Aries is, or the Sagittarius is, but we're going to come to Sagittarius a bit later along the line. So this is when we are going through the archetypes of Leo, this is when we become expressing ourselves a lot more confidently, without any fear, and with a sense of a firmness, I would say that at this point. This is when we are already coming up to a point of our life where we have certain views, where we have certain life views, and based on those life views, on those life experiences, we already know exactly what we want and what we want to express and what we want to achieve. This is all already, let's not forget that the fifth house belongs to the Leo is also deeply related to children. So right after the fourth house, where we start appreciating the family values, this is exactly the point of the life when the person might want to have their own family, have their own kids, and basically express themselves more protectively through having a family, or having a strong bond with somebody that can give them that sense of the family, and in general actually just being themselves and start the path of leadership towards their further growth. So right after the Leo, of course, now which is the fixed sign, we're moving into the sixth sign, which is right in the middle, and basically the sixth sign, which is going to be a Virgo, is going to be the end of the second quarter of the astrological chart. This is where we are just already have learned everything about ourselves. We started going through different emotional, spiritual transformation, beginning from the first half through our childhood, up to the point where we started realizing the deep values of the life, deep values of self-expression, confidence, our family, creating our own surrounding of people or the friends. And now coming up to the sixth house, which is the house of Virgo, this is where we already start deciding what we want to do in life and how we can be actually useful for the society, how our services or whatever, all the work that we've been putting into ourselves all this time in order to develop ourselves, can be useful for the outer world, basically for the world, around us, how we can be more kind of expressive and more helpful to our surrounding, to the society in general. Also, this is the house of the health, which means that this is the point where probably we might have been partying when we were younger, we might have been doing lots of things and experiencing different tangible or pleasurable things, but this is the point where we actually come to start paying more attention to our health and our routine. So the 6th house is already the end of the 2nd quarter of the astrological cycle, which means that from the beginning, from the 1st house of Aries until the 6th house, which is the 6th astrological signs, we have been only exploring ourselves and our inner world to be able to understand who we are and who do we become, so that we can actually then put it out there in the world and be helpful as a member of a society. So finishing with the basically flexible sign of the Virgo, where we start already looking for ourselves and building our own routine after everything that we've learned throughout the 6 signs. We're now moving into the basically the other 6 signs, which are considered the outward signs. And now pay attention to this. Those remained 2 quarters of the zodiac signs are actually going to be more related, not with ourselves, not with our intuitive or personal growth, but also mainly with the surrounding, with the outer world, with the people that surround us, and how we can go through those different transformations, and how we can be helpful with people, what we should understand and learn about the world. So the next 7th subpersonality or trait or subconscious subpersonality is associated with the sign of the Libra, which is the 7th sign of the zodiac. This is the house, and the 7th house of Libra is the house of the relationship. Now, this is after everything we've been able to explore about ourselves. Now it comes to a point where we start looking for somebody to be actually our partner, that we can actually share those values, spiritual values that we were able to learn and to explore through our own growth. So also the 7th house may mean partnership, not only in terms of a relationship, but any kind of partnership, whether it's a business partnership, whether it's a friendship, whatever that has strong bonds, basically. So after having been formulated as an individual, coming up to the 6th house, going through the 2 first quarters of the zodiac signs, now that we are formulated individual, confident in ourselves, and knowing exactly what we want from this life, we start looking for people with like-minded like ourselves, so we can get into a very useful partnership and also expand through this partnership, of course. So after this one, of course, we're moving to another fixed sign of the astrological, which is the 8th house, that belongs to the Scorpio, and also is associated with the 8th subpersonality of our subconscious mind. And the Scorpio is usually the sign of spiritual transformation, the sign of deep personality transformation. This is probably where we can say that actually we might come up to an age where suddenly all those things and all the fundamental views of our life that we've learned, that we've gone through and learned through, might start breaking down at some point. But there's nothing to fear about this. It's only because now we're transforming, gaining all this knowledge and all the experiences that we have basically borrowed or we've taken from the first 2 quarters of the zodiac sign. Now we are actually transforming and breaking them down into pieces in order to be able to understand what of those skills and what of those learnings or experiences in life taught us at some point, and what do we have to know about them, and how we can transform it into something bigger, something different. This is when we become already quite more spiritual. This is where the materialistic part of our personality might have already been at some point developed, and now we understand that there's something else missing, and we want to gain into our own inside world of spirituality and start transforming everything around us, including our own views. So because of this, now after the 8th house, there's a 9th house, which belongs to the Sagittarius. And as we know, Sagittarius are known for expansion of their views, for expansion of their life views, for their interest and their curiosity in philosophy. So this means that actually through the spiritual growth after the Scorpio, we're diving into philosophical growth, where we are already quite adult as an individual, and we now try to expand ourselves and trying to see the world, trying to understand the world as it is, try to understand the people as it is without trying to change them or change anything about them. And we're in a place where we're of an acceptance, where we actually start accepting certain things in our life. So right after the 9th house of Sagittarius, there's the 10th house of Capricorn comes up, where eventually after all the transformations and all the experiences that we've gone through, beginning with the first, second, third, let's say that quarters of the zodiac signs, and going through all those step-by-step personality evolvement, we come to a point where we actually understand, where we've been able to gain ourselves as a quite serious individual, and where we exactly know what our social status is going to be like, or we know what we want from our social status. And basically the social status is exactly what describes us as a human being, or as a person, individual, who was able to build up their fundamental let's say that life path. So their fundaments, in other words to say. So in the 10th house of the Capricorn, which is the last quarter, of course, of the zodiac sign, we already know who we are, and we want people to acknowledge and accept us the way that you are, because of our social status and because of what we have been able to achieve in this life. So right after the Capricorn, there's 11th house, which is now the house of Aquarius, and this is exactly where we become more vocal about our own views and understand that there can be differences and uniqueness in our personality that may be very different to the society around us or to our surrounding. But regardless of it all, we start now moving towards our goals in a very unique way, finding your own uniqueness and using your own uniqueness, expressing yourself through uniqueness to be able to actually build up yourself completely. So, and after the 11th house, we're coming up to the last sign of the zodiac, which is the Pisces. And as we know, this is the place, this is the last house and the last zodiac sign, which clearly is deeply related to our own spiritual being. And this is the last house and the last zodiac sign of zodiac sign, which tells us that that's already a revision of what we've been able to learn experiencing all those 11 subpersonalities previously, and dive into our spiritual world, dive into ourselves, and actually take that introspection to understand what we've been able to learn from this life, what we've been able to understand from this life, what this life and all these experiences have somehow taught us. So considering that, I want to say that actually this is basically the little end of the cycle of 12 cycles at this point. But also what I would like to say is this, as you can see, I just gave you a brief explanation of those 12 subpersonalities of subconscious that is deeply related to astrology. But there's also a lot more than to it, because you have to understand that the number 12 in spirituality plays a very important part. Number 12 holds spiritual significance in a lot of different cultures. For example, 12 zodiac signs is one of them, and then which actually represents, as I told you earlier, the full human cycle experience. 12 tribes of Israel, 12 apostles, 12 months, 12 cranial nerves, and etc., etc. So that's why, if you understand, the number 12, it plays also a very important part in spirituality, or even in numerology. And in numerology, let me break it down for you. 1 plus 2, which means 3, the number of divine creation and expression. So this is all about expressing, learning ourselves and our soul and expressing it. Well, guys, I hope that actually I was able to give you some little information and the links between the psychology, numerology, spirituality, astrology, and our individualism, or our self-being. And if you happen to have any questions, please feel free to ask me those questions. Leave me your comment below. And also, please, I would like to ask your opinion about this. Like, how do you find the link between astrology and your own personality? Have you tried doing an astrological chart for yourself, and what have you realized? Basically, at the end of the subject, what I'm trying to say is that we have a trait of each zodiac sign in ourselves, a trait of all 12 signs we have in ourselves, regardless of our sign. And the only difference is that, considering our sun sign, our moon sign, and the rising sign, which is a primal trait, we try to figure out which of those traits are more, I would say that, obvious, are more aggressively expressed rather than other ones. So again, if you find this vlog kind of useful for yourself, guys, then feel free to press the like button for me and subscribe to my channel to actually get the notification of my new upcoming spiritual and the psychological videos about spiritual life coaching, life guidance, esoterics, and etc., etc. Also, don't forget to also leave your comment about your experience with astrology, if you had one. And what do you think about astrology? Do you think it's a predictive tool, or do you think it's a guidance tool? Stay blessed, guys.